following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Mute myself. There we go. Welcome into a Monday edition of Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao, Mo Patton, coming to you here on this September 26th edition. The beginning of false fall. It is beautiful outside. It feels wonderful outside. It's nice, 70, sunny. It's going to be that way all week long. And then next week, it's going to be like 87 again, I'm sure. But we'll take what we can get.
Saturday was nice.
I mean, it's been nice. Friday was, from Friday on, it's been really solid.
I almost felt a little underdressed Friday night because I was still in my polo shirt and shorts that I've been in thus far.
Yeah.
And it got a little cool once the sun went down, but it was bearable, you know.
And that's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take bearable.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, it was a fantastic weekend, man. We had a lot going on, but it was a good weekend. We talked about it Friday. We had just a great show talking college football, just all of the things that you expect from a Friday show you got, except for Jeff Him, unfortunately, but we are going to get him this week.
Mm-hmm.
I promise, ahead of their trip to Vegas, where they will be playing for hopefully a AAA championship, definitely an International League championship.
Well, I hope their trip to Vegas goes better than a certain team's trip from Vegas this weekend.
There you go. There you go. That's right. Tennessee Titans created the only 0-3 team in the National Football League.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is.
And each of their 3 losses, I think, was by less than a one possession.
All of them were one possession? Man, that's rough.
Yeah.
And only 2 3-0 teams. And
Parity
both of them
has struck the National Football League.
Both of those teams led by former Alabama quarterbacks. How about that? That? I mean, remember when the talking point for so long was Alabama hadn't had a quarterback win a National Football League game since 1989 or something?
Well,
things have changed.
Yeah.
So anyway, man, we got a great show for you lined up. John Brice from footballscoop.com. He's going to join us and talk about that Tennessee-Florida game. We're going to get reaction to all of college football games from the weekend. We've got reaction to the Titans, of course, as well as high school football. Can't forget the Atlanta Braves, who made a trip to the White House today and earned a new nickname, it appears. So we'll talk about that nickname a little bit later.
Let me just say this. Bryce won't just be talking UT Florida.
Well, I mean, obviously, we got a lot to get to, but that is the crux, hopefully, of what we'll get to, because we're gonna talk about that game a lot. I got a feeling, and how it correlates to the rest of what college football is doing, because there are a lot of folks are saying, how is Tennessee in the top 10? Blah blah blah. Look, we'll get to all of that. There's a lot to get to. But before we do any of that, Mo, we need to get to some scores and the schedule for today, because there's a lot to get to in it. So let's go ahead and give you the rundown.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy. Prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
All right, in Friday night football action, it was Pope Prep 34, BGA 27. Blackman down to Antioch 56-28. Boyd Buchanan took care of Columbia Academy 55-7. It was Montgomery Bell Academy with a 35-21 win over Brentwood Academy, while Clarksville down Northeast 47-30. John Overton got a 46-13 win over Northwest, while Coffee County at home against Spring Hill. What was the final score on that? Was it 42-7?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Columbia Central down Mount Pleasant 32-20. Eagleville, a 28-14 winner over Cornersville. Cane Ridge 31, CPA 28 in a fantastic ball game. We told you that one was going to be, and it was. And Silverdale Academy down to Donaldson Christian 37-7.
Also, Centennial keeps Dixon County winless with a 24-0 victory. It was Ensworth 66, St. Benedict 7. Bowling Green out of Kentucky with the 1-point victory over Father Ryan 46-45. Clarksville Academy downs Fayette Academy 49-28. Franklin Road Academy with a 42-14 win over St. George's. Friendship Christian downs Maplewood 55-8. Gallatin doubled up Cookville 58-29. Page goes to the Brickyard and beats Giles County 45-28. Grace Christian out of Franklin wins 37-7 over Webb of Bell Buckle. Greenbrier with the 47-2 win over Hillwood. And contrary to what you might have read, it was East Nashville 32, Independent 7.
East Robertson shut out Joe Burns 41-0. It was Kenwood 27, Shelbyville 24. Big win there for Kenwood. Middle Tennessee Christian, a 38-21 winner over Lakeway. Stewart's Creek shut out Laverne 38-0, while Lawrence County shut out Glencliff 44-0. A couple more shutouts, 38-0 for Lebanon over Lincoln County, and 29-0 Good Pasture over Liberty Creek. It was Lewis County 28, Loretto 17, Macon County 42, Portland 15. McEwen, a 48-26 winner over Harpeth. McGavick downs Franklin 35-14, and Creekwood a 28-0 winner over Montgomery Central.
In a shootout, Nashville Christian down Davidson Academy 59-51. It was Nolansville with a 49-21 win over Rockvale. Pearl Cone blanks Tullahoma 45-0. Ravenwood 27, Hendersonville 10. Smyrna with the 15-5 win over Riverdale. Springfield defeats Rossview 32-7. Hunters Lane with a 31-4 win over Stratford. Summertown defeats Ezel Harding 30-7. Monterey defeats Tennessee Heat 28-13, and Siegel edges Warren County 21-18.
We've had scores of 2, 5, and 4 in this rundown. I'm wondering who pitched. Anyway.
Right? Yeah.
Upperman down Watertown 48-7. Station Camp 34. West Creek 13. Westmoreland edged Clay County 20-19, while White County got the 1-point win over Green Hill 21-20. It was White House 38, Sycamore 6, Whites Creek 18-14 winners over Cheatham County. Mountain Juliet down Wilson Central 31-3, and Zion Christian blanked Lighthouse Christian of Antioch, and 8-man football 62-0.
It was homecoming for the Eagles in that one, so big win for them. And there were definitely some scoregamis on Friday night.
No doubt.
In volleyball action on Friday, Columbia Central and Hampshire both won in shutout fashion. Columbia Central down in Culleoka 3-0, and Hampshire with a 3-0 win over Santa Fe. In girls soccer on Friday, it was Lincoln County 6, Fairview 0. Hillsborough and Hume Fogg played to a 1-1 deadlock. Creekwood downs Kenwood 8-0. Also, Lakeway Christian defeating Middle Tennessee Christian 8-0. Smyrna with the 1-0 win over Webb School, and University School of Nashville 2, Martin Luther King 1.
On Saturday, volleyball action, Loretto with 4 matches, all from teams in Alabama. They fell to Montgomery Academy and Jasper. How about that? 2-0, while defeating Haleville, where my brothers went to school, and Holly Pond 2-0. So yeah, got my home county and my brother's home county in that. That's wild. Harpeth Hall 2-1 winners over Marshall County of Kentucky, and Rossview 8-0 over Henry County.
Those were both soccer scores, by the way.
Yes,
in pro baseball action over the weekend, the Cubs took 2 of 3 from the Pirates, winning 6-5 on Friday and 8-3 on Sunday around a Pirates 6-0 win on Saturday. The Brewers also took 2 of 3 from the Reds, winning 5-3 and 10-2 on Friday and Saturday, falling 2-1 to Cincinnati on Sunday. The Phillies continued their series from Thursday with a 9-1 win over the Braves on Friday before the Braves won 6-3 on Saturday and 8-7-11 with a rain delay mixed in on Sunday. Combined with the Mets taking 2 of 3 in Oakland, winning 9-2 on Friday, 13-4 yesterday, but falling 10-4 on Saturday. The Braves picked up a game in the NL East standings. So, Cardinals won 11-0 on Friday, but that wasn't the big news out of that game, as Albert Pujols hit .699 and 700, becoming the fourth to reach the 700 career home run mark.
And somebody else on the team hit their first.
Yeah, somebody else. Somebody else.
He pinch hit for Pujols and hit his first home run in Pujols' spot in the lineup. That's crazy.
That is pretty crazy. Dodgers bounced back with 6-2 and 4-1 wins on Saturday and Sunday. And in minor league baseball, the Sounds, with a 6-3 win at Louisville, clinched the International League Western Division Championship, then fell to Louisville 6-4.
College football action on Saturday. Tennessee 38, Florida 33. Alabama down Vanderbilt 55-3, while Middle Tennessee State went to Miami Gardens, come back 3-0 all-time against the Hurricanes with a 45-31 win. Wow, that's great.
And a $1.5 million check. Thank you very much.
$1.5 million check, that's right. And Austin Peay with a homecoming win over Eastern Kentucky 31-20. Georgetown, number 8 in NAIA, shut out Cumberland 24-0. In NFL action, it was the Titans edging the Raiders 24-22 with a late 2-point conversion knockdown. So there you go.
Monday volleyball action at 5 o'clock. Hampshire travels to Mount Pleasant. At 5:30, Columbia Academy goes to Middle Tennessee Christian. 6 o'clock starts. East Hickman at Columbia Central. Santa Fe at Culleoka. Dixon County hosts Harpeth. Macon County is at Eagleville. Hate to be making that trip. Lawrence County hosts Spring Hill. Riverdale goes to Lebanon. And Lewis County hosts Loretto. At 6:30, Stewart's Creek is at Wilson Central.
At 4 o'clock in girls soccer action, Adamsville takes on Loretto at Loretto. STEM Academy playing host to Hillsborough. At 5 o'clock, it will be St. Cecilia at Columbia Academy, and VCA hosting Mount Juliet Christian at 5:30. Independence Academy will be at East Nashville. At 6 o'clock, first touch, it will be Whites Creek at East Robertson, Harpeth at Waverly. Columbia Academy is playing somebody. I don't know if they're going to Zion or if they're at home against St. Cecilia. That's a good question. Anyway, at 7 o'clock, Clarksville is at Franklin. Upperman's at Friendship Christian at 6:30. Also at 6:30, Cannon County at Giles County. CPA at Page. And again at 7, Columbia Central is at Spring Hill.
Pro baseball action tonight at 5:35. The Reds and the Pirates meet at PNC Park at 6:05. Following up their White House visit, the Atlanta Braves will play at Nationals Park against the Nats. 7:05 tonight, the Sounds host Memphis in their final 3 games of the regular season at First Horizon Park. Again, that's a 7:05 start. And at 7:15, the Cowboys are at the Giants. That's a 7:15 start and will be shown on both ESPN and ABC. And that is your rundown.
All right, Mo, let's take a quick break and we'll try to get John Brice in here on the other side of it. So y'all stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We will be back after these short messages. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And And outside of the military, our greatest leader-building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones and Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. We are back here on this Reaction Monday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here with you as we get ready to talk a little college football. And I'm telling you, there's a lot to get to. We've got ADs getting fired, coaches getting fired, just everything that could be happening in the world of college football, Mo, is happening right now. So no better time to have John Brice on the show, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if anything's going on, this guy knows about it. And so John Brice of footballscoop.com now joining us here on Main Street Sports Today from the comforts of his vehicle.
That's it. Sorry about that, fellas.
Oh, you're good.
Didn't know we'd switched. I use StreamYard for all of our podcasts at Football Scoop, so I apologize for having to join via the phone, but I'm always happy to visit with you all.
Well, we're happy to have you any way we can get you, John, so we appreciate it. Hey, man, Chris introduced you in the first segment saying that we were going to be talking to you about UT Florida, and obviously we are. So we'll start with that and go from there. And as I was talking to Joe Rexroad of The Athletic yesterday after the Titans game, a lot of Vol fans went through some PTSD over the latter stages of that game before it finished up 38-33 Saturday.
Yeah, it had the makings, quite honestly, Mo, especially for the Tennessee fan base. You're sitting there thinking, is this 2015 all over again? Is this 2014 all over again? Is it 2012 all over again? So many contests. It's not a singular event that has inflicted all this PTSD on the Vols fans in Big Orange Nation. It has been recurring themes, like somebody is the football gods are sitting up above pushing diabolical buttons when it comes to Tennessee versus Florida. But this is a new generation of players, a new generation of coaches. And that win for Tennessee in a lot of ways was not just validation of Josh Heupel as a coach, but I think validation of the culture that Josh Heupel has built in his program.
Exercised a lot of demons.
Absolutely did. And you know, in some ways it's good that they had to hang on to win the way that they did, because they needed to see that they can hang on and win that way against a Florida, against a very quality SEC team. And now look, Tennessee's got the overtime win at Pitt. They've survived this heart attack inducing scare Saturday against Florida. They've got 2 weeks to try and get Cedric Tillman healthy, along with some other bumps and bruises, and then go down to LSU, and LSU plays a night game this week on the road at Auburn. That's an Auburn staff that very clearly is fighting for their lives in this season that's already taking on great change around the country. So there's a lot for Tennessee to have in the momentum bank moving forward.
How big is it that Tennessee LSU game is an 11 o'clock Central kick, John?
I was literally just on a group text with like 10 different fans from East Tennessee on one text, and about 8 different guys in another thread. And they're all lamenting that they're not going to get to see Death Valley and have the true experience of a nighttime game. But they're also very real to the fact, and I just pointed out literally right before I joined your show, I said, guys, they're going to face an Auburn team truly fighting for its life this weekend on the road. If LSU somehow loses that, I said Death Valley will be as quiet as a cemetery for that 11 a.m. kickoff. And I believe that. If Auburn somehow stuns LSU, then that really sets up perfectly for Tennessee to go in there. It will be a very lackadaisical crowd, and Tennessee will have had 2 weeks to prepare and get healthy. I would say that scenario would be best case scenario for Tennessee.
Beyond that, though, Death Valley at 11 and Death Valley at 6 or 7, 2 different venues, and I think UT has a much greater chance of getting out of there with a win in this one than that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you. Now, I've been to some early games in Death Valley, and if LSU beats Auburn and is still cooking, they'll come around, and it will be a good atmosphere, not elite like it is at nighttime. But again, if they lose at Auburn, that sets up really nicely for Tennessee to again make another major statement victory away from home and set up what would be probably the biggest Tennessee Alabama clash. Mid 90s.
Yeah. Chris, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I had me muted so that I could click and you guys not hear me. But this has been one of the weirdest college football seasons that we've seen in a long time. I mean, it just feels like literally any given Saturday. And so while we all watched Auburn play terrible football against Missouri for longer than we should have had to, it's not to say that LSU can't lose that game and Auburn can't win it. So, man, it is wild. And now that you throw in all of the coaching searches across the country, Deion Sanders is being linked to having been in Auburn this past weekend potentially. And I mean, what in the world is going on right now in the world of college football as far as coaching is concerned? Deion Sanders is concerned, obviously with Atlanta. There's a connection there. What's the news there? Anything?
Yeah, Chris, great question. And the first thing I would say is that it shows the big picture trend, and it's been slowly gravitating toward this in 2020 and a little bit more a year ago. Let's remember, I think it was maybe September 13th a year ago when USC fired Clay Helton. But that was the first major one. We've already got Power 5 openings in 3 of the 5 major Power 5 conferences. There's already an opening in the ACC, already an opening in the Big Ten, and already an opening in the Pac-12. I think that's significant, and it's probably 3 big factors in my opinion. Number one is the money and pressure involved. There's an inherent feel that you've got to get out in front of it as much as you can. And also I would point to the fact that the 3 jobs are open are 3 guys that almost got fired after last season. And so schools for various reasons tried to hold it out and preach patience, and it was patience in name only. The second, third factors tie into the first factor. It's all about money. It's about the transfer portal. It's about NIL, and it's about how quickly you can flip your roster. And especially in the case of potentially Auburn, but already Georgia Tech, they're making a move at AD. They've got to get that train rolling sooner rather than later because they're going to need a new AD. And we discussed it on our podcast this morning on Football Scoop. I really believe Auburn needs an AD in by the middle of October, no later than the 1st of November, to execute a full football search the way that it needs to. I mean, it's not going to be just one person leading a football search for Georgia Tech. I mean, but you've got to have that next athletic department leader in place so much sooner to get the candidates vetted, to figure out what these candidates' philosophies are as it pertains to the transfer portal. How quickly can they flip a roster over? What are their viewpoints on name, image, and likeness? What are their core tenets for their programs? What are their foundational beliefs? And so we're going to continue to see this be the way until there's eventually possibly guide rails on NIL, and we're going to see this very much so because of the transfer portal and how quickly programs believe they can flip rosters.
John Bryce of footballscoop.com joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. John, as you mentioned, as Chris mentioned, goodness, Scott Frost at Nebraska, Herm Edwards at Arizona State, now Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech. Who's next? Is it Harsin?
I think that Carl Dorrell at Colorado and Brian Harsin at Auburn, maybe Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. I wouldn't want any of their chairs. I would take all of their paychecks. I wouldn't want any of their chairs because those things are getting warmer by the day. And so I would say that those are three that really are being eyed right now by coaches I talk to around the country, by industry insiders. Those are the three that there's the most concern about when the hammer could fall on any one or all three of those guys.
Is Deion in play at Auburn or Georgia Tech?
I would be stunned. Well, there's not an opening yet at Auburn. So if Auburn comes open, I would be flat out stunned if Deion wasn't in play at Auburn. I have to believe that Deion very much will be in play at Georgia Tech. It just makes too much sense. Look, if I'm Georgia Tech, my first two calls would probably be Deion Sanders and Charles Huff, and then I would look beyond that. But Georgia Tech needs some juice. They need guys that can flip that roster like we've just discussed. We've already seen Deion do that at Jackson State. Charles Huff has done that very effectively at Marshall. Yeah, they've had a couple of disappointing losses the last couple of weeks, but I was at that game at Notre Dame. I'd visited with Charles Huff the night before for about 90 minutes in the Marshall team hotel. I know what he's about. I know how well prepared that team was to play that day. And I know how much he's improved that roster in short order. And so he's a guy that's also watched James Franklin do it at an academic institution before because he was on staff there at Vanderbilt with Franklin, in addition to having ties to Tennessee State. And then he's been at Alabama with Nick Saban. So those are two guys that would, if I was calling five guys, those are two guys that would be on my list 100 out of 100 times for the Georgia Tech job.
So, and Mo and I texted about this yesterday. Is there any way that the searches of those three universities are overlapping in any way?
Yeah.
Is there a potential for a little bit of overlap at least?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, Bill O'Brien has a rich history at Georgia Tech as well, was there for a really long time, 7 or 8 seasons at the end of the 90s and the early 2000s. And Georgia Tech had a streak. I think my colleague Zach Barnett mentioned it this morning. Georgia Tech went to a bowl game like 18 consecutive years, from late 90s to the early 2010s. And so there is history there. And they've won a national championship technically since Notre Dame has won a national championship. So it's not been that long since Georgia Tech has done some great things and had some really good players. So I could see a Bill O'Brien being vetted absolutely by Georgia Tech, by Nebraska, and Arizona State. I think especially Arizona State and Georgia Tech because of the markets, because they share NFL teams. Bill O'Brien is really widely respected in the NFL for what he did as a coach, not necessarily as a GM. And then also, again, for the way he handled Penn State in the wake of those nightmarish Paterno-Sandusky sanctions and just the decimation that program was left with.
John Bryce of footballscoop.com with us here on Main Street Sports Today. John, we cannot let you go without getting your thoughts on the events that took place in Miami on Saturday. I mean, MTSU had been over against top 25 programs, and they were a 26-point underdog going in there. I don't think anybody – I can't imagine anybody making money on that ball game. Let me put it that way. Chris, I think we lost Bryce.
His internet he's a little frozen.
Or he's just stunned by my question.
Sure. he's still stunned by the Middle Tennessee win down in Miami Gardens. Yeah, if he gets back in, we'll grab him. But until then, yeah, you're right, man. That is one of the craziest things that we have seen.
I hate that we couldn't get his reaction to that because I wanted to know what other folks are saying about it. across college football. And I mean, that is a program defining victory, I think. And obviously we'll be talking to Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, as we do every Tuesday tomorrow, to get his thoughts on that. But I really wanted to get somebody's thoughts from outside the program on that one, because it was just so huge and it was so dominant. I mean, from beginning to end, as even Rick Stocksville said in his post-game quotes, this was no fluke.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it was from beginning to end, like you said. It was 10-0 before Miami knew what hit them, and they could not get out of it. I mean,
they couldn't, and that's what surprised me, man. I mean, again, I was flipping between that UT Florida and Braves Phillies, and so I probably didn't get the full impact of it, but you just felt like at a time. You felt like Miami's athleticism would take over at some point. It never did. You felt like Miami's, what you would have expected to be Miami's advantage in the trenches, would take over, and it never did. And again, as Stock said, it was just a butt whipping. They just took it to Miami and never let up.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
again, I just wanted someone who didn't have blue tinted glasses on to get their impressions of it, and that's kind of unfortunate. But
well, and we can mention this to Chip tomorrow, but the Blue Raiders are undefeated since we have had mini helmets in the building. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
So we're going to take credit for that, kind of like Trackhouse, huh?
the mini helmet mojo, baby.
Yeah. Hey, whatever works. Thanks
to John Brice for the little bit we could get from him. We appreciate it as always. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, Mo, we'll look around college football. There was a lot to react to. We'll continue reacting. Then about mid.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, three-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best looking girl Bananarama, so the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Back once again here on Reaction Monday, Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton, as we have a ton of college football to react to. I mean, just things happening from all across the landscape in college football. And, first things first, Mo, I kind of wanted to, we talked there about Georgia Tech and Jeff Collins,
and athletics director Todd Stansberry,
and AD Todd Stansberry. It's interesting that the AD would get the axe there, but I mean, I guess I don't know how long he's been there and how many coaches he's hired or fired, but yeah, no, that's not great for Georgia Tech, man.
Yeah, because I mean, like Bryce was saying, you've got to get the AD piece taken care of before you can address the football piece, I would think.
No, yeah, absolutely. You're and just like Auburn, I mean, it's hard to fire a football coach when you don't even have an athletics director to fire the football coach.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you got to hire an AD before you hire a coach, because there's no way you're gonna, hire a coach and then ask an AD to be good with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So apparently Stansberry, who is a Georgia Tech graduate and football letter winner, was hired in 2016 as the AD. And so Jeff Collins was the coach that he hired to replace Paul Johnson. And obviously that did not work out. And
it's like, well, if you missed on the first one, you're probably going to miss on the next one, I guess.
Well, it's tough to think otherwise. So, and I think the vote of confidence that he gave him at the end of the 2021 season was kind of the straw that broke the Yellow Jackets' back, I guess. I mean,
yeah, you could have saved your job if you had just fired him at the end of the year.
Yeah, because again, if it's you or me, it's you.
Instead, it's now both.
Now it's both.
Now
Yeah,
it's
now
you and me.
And if we both lose our jobs, that ain't doing nobody any good.
Nobody. It's not good. A lot of folks really, like Jeff Collins. I mean, as a person, but just and thought he was a great defensive coordinator, but he wasn't. And look, hiring college football coaches may be the most difficult thing to do in the world, because you got a lot of folks out there with false sense of self-worth. You got a lot of folks out there who, Georgia Tech, we've won a national championship since Notre Dame has. How come they keep getting these, how come they can get whoever they want to be their coach? We've been just as good as they have.
And we have to hire a coach whose only previous head coaching role was at Temple.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that point of view from a fan's perspective. So I guess I can see that, but also, there aren't a lot of Iowas out there. There just aren't.
No.
I mean,
meanwhile, well, here, this doesn't have to be hard for Georgia Tech, though, because if you'll recall, there's a certain former athletics director at Auburn who is now without job.
That's true.
Who was pretty good.
And I mean, it's not but a couple hours drive.
Yeah.
So when you have to pay the too long of a or too much of a relocation fee?
No, not very much at all. So,
you can rent the truck and return it to the same place. You don't have to return it to a different place. That saves you like $200 right there.
Collins was 10-28.
Oof.
The lowest winning percentage of Georgia Tech's 13 full-time coaches.
John Heisman rolling over in his grave right now.
Numbers from Temple at some point over the weekend, and they weren't very good either. But it's
we had a good feeling.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know.
Did you hear my Heisman comment?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, you were frozen when I said it, so I didn't know if you heard it or not.
Yeah, I got that. That's
so Georgia Tech is without coach and AD. Kansas State. How about that?
Man,
after you lose to Tulane. And
any given Saturday, like you said,
number 6 in the country.
I mean, I tell you what, when you look at Adrian Martinez and you look at Nebraska and you look at Scott Frost, you know who the problem was or was not.
Clearly,
and it wasn't Martinez.
I saw a tweet that said, "I can't wait for this TCU Kansas State Big 12 championship game. It's going to be." I think Matt Brown posted that it's going to be epic, and at this point, man, I don't know what's going to happen. It's
a lot of purple. A lot of purple.
Texas Tech takes down Texas. Oklahoma falls. I mean, it's just it feels like there's just parity all over. And we talked about this last year, and I think this is probably the last year we're going to have this type of parity, at least that is remnant of the COVID season. But because you've got guys like Hendon Hooker who are in their 5th year and just things like that. But it really is wild, because imagine if Alabama hadn't come back and won that game at Texas, and then Texas loses to Texas Tech. I mean, Alabama could potentially be out of the playoff talks.
What's when you make that statement, it makes me wonder, other than the W, what's the difference in 2019 Alabama and 22-20 Texas?
The W, which is all that really matters. Because look, well, I mean, you're going to have games like that. I mean, Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee in 2009. You're going to have games where you struggle to win in national championship seasons. Everybody does. Nobody just blisters through very often.
That's a fair comment. No,
on the road, you just find a way to win. And if you can do that, I think you can't. It's hard to punish somebody, no matter how hard, no matter how good or bad the team may be. And again, how many times have we seen teams just absolutely, fall off a cliff after playing Alabama?
Mm-hmm.
And again, they don't have Quinn Ewers, which makes a difference.
Apparently.
I mean, obviously at home against Alabama, the backup quarterback came in and played phenomenally, but there's a difference between preparing as a starter and, coming into a game with, you've got the lead, you're playing the number 1 team. It's easy to get up for, that kind of thing. There's differences. I get that.
Yeah.
But it is something to pay attention to. I mean, Georgia goes out and looks like a normal football team against Kent State of all teams.
39-22 was not what I expected out of that ball game.
Now, you and anybody else, more people made money on Middle Tennessee State than they did on Georgia Saturday. Because somebody took Middle Tennessee State at plus 13,000 just for $10. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. When you look at what college football has been this season, it really feels like this is going to shape up to be one of the more exciting seasons that we've had in quite a while.
Certainly. I mean, if this all holds up, I mean, if things shake out and get back to what we consider to be normal, then maybe it wears off. But this first 3 weeks has certainly been something.
KJ Jefferson with the Jarrett Garantano decision.
At least I think KJ was running the play that was called.
Well, there's that. But diving from the 4, trying to jump the pile from the 4,
and then reaching the football out. Yeah,
from the 4.
Yeah. Well, he's a big guy.
You're not Michael Jordan in Space Jam, my brother.
He's a big guy. Maybe he can get there from the 4. I mean, certainly Garantano couldn't. But yeah, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. And we talked about this last week. If you're the SEC, that's not the outcome that you wanted out of that ball game.
No,
because again, Texas A&M's got that App State loss that is going to be really tough to overcome no matter what they do the rest of the way.
Absolutely. And then you've got Alabama, Arkansas at 2:30 this Saturday, and you're hoping for, undefeated versus undefeated and, top 10 matchup, and you're not going to get it. And CBS may have burned Alabama because Are they going to have Alabama on 2 weeks in a row? Because you can only have them on for so many times, right?
You know more about that kind of thing than I do. I don't know what exactly the television.
3 times. You can have a team on 3 times.
Well,
so you go Alabama, Arkansas, Alabama, Tennessee, and then maybe Alabama, Auburn? No, you can't go Alabama, Auburn.
You wouldn't think.
So
unless Auburn does something unexpected. Uh-oh. Somebody's not happy. Somebody's not happy.
No, she's giggling.
Oh, okay.
No,
good.
She's extremely happy, apparently.
Oh, she's extremely happy. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Happy is good.
A lot happier than Auburn fans were after neither team wanted to win on Saturday.
Did you catch Bryce saying that Drinkwitz is on the hot seat?
Oh yeah, absolutely he is.
What's this, his 3rd year?
Yeah. Had a really good recruiting class last year. You know, I think that might help him a little.
Well, I mean, again, as you talk about programs and fan bases that have a false sense of worth, it's Missouri.
Yes, but I mean, what is his record right now? It's not good.
It's not good, but who can come in there and be better? Who's going to come in there and be better?
He's 13-14.
13-14. You're Missouri. You're right at 500. What are you looking for over 27 games if you're Missouri?
Yeah, 5-5, 6-7, and then 2-2 this year.
At Missouri.
Yeah. And I mean, with 6-6 in the regular season last year, lost the Armed Forces bowl game against Army. But yeah, I mean,
sometimes you have to be careful with that we're going in a different direction.
Well,
ask a few high schools around here.
Ask Nebraska.
Yeah.
Hi, Bo. We're going to go in a different direction if you don't care. Okay. The direction you're going ain't going to be good.
All right. Go on and go in that different direction.
No, I get it. I'm just, I think when you're in the SEC, you feel like you have to be competitive.
But not everybody can be because you're in the SEC.
I mean, it's funny to watch teams like South Carolina who are happy to be where they are. Teams like Missouri who are unhappy, yet they're in the same place.
What was it we were saying about Ferentz in Iowa or some other people
that's it.
They have happy. Yeah, they're okay being okay.
It's okay to be okay. And a lot of teams are not. We know that. We've talked about that a million times on this show, but yeah, I mean, it is. That's how things happen. I mean, sometimes schools feel like we can be better, but I mean, Drink was having to really do some changes. Barry Odom left that program in shambles, and Drink is having to clean up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I would quite go that far, but I do think that there are a lot of people, especially in Missouri, who feel like he should be better than he is. But again, last year's signing class was really good.
Mm-hmm.
He needs a quarterback, but
yeah,
everybody needs a quarterback. That's how you win at college football.
It's a quarterback driven sport.
I mean, we saw two quarterbacks playing at the top of their game. As good as Anthony Richardson can play, he played against Tennessee on Saturday. I think Hendon Hooker played as good as Hendon Hooker can play. And that was fun to watch. I don't know about y'all, but I enjoyed the heck out of
it. If you were a UT fan, I don't know how. Well, okay. Maybe you didn't enjoy all 60, but yeah, it was pretty enjoyable, and the outcome certainly was.
58 of it was great. I mean, Imagine if Tennessee doesn't score before the half.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know what that did to Florida's momentum, but Tennessee scoring with that long pass to Keaton down the near sideline,
Mhm.
And getting a score out of that, and then coming out and scoring again.
That sequence right
was
there,
huge.
going 2 for 1, as Steve Lehman from WTVF pointed out on Twitter that day. You know, being able to get to double up right there, score at the end of the first and right there at the start of the second, and that was the difference in the ball game, basically.
It was 100% the difference in the ball game. So, you know, I think that's one thing that Tennessee fans will look at and say, all right, that's what we got to do. When we needed a score, when we needed a play, Hendon Hooker gave it to us. The only time he did not make the play that had to be made was 4th and 3 that gave Florida the ball back. And look, they weren't even they were barely trying to move the ball on that drive. I mean, I even asked on Twitter if does Hendon Hooker even know where the play clock is in Neyland Stadium, because he doesn't need it. And at times on that drive, I don't think he did. I mean, there were several close calls that Tennessee had to burn timeouts. They got a delay game penalty on that drive. I mean, it was just like they couldn't figure out how to go slow.
Yeah. Well, that's not something that they do.
Right. So I was like, I don't even think he knows where it is. Like,
Makes sense.
Can somebody point it out to him and let him know?
Goodness gracious.
But yeah, I mean, Tennessee, jumps into the top 10 of the AP poll with that win, up to 8th. They sit right behind Kentucky, who got an 8-point win at home against a team that Vandy beat by 10 on the road. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
USC goes to Corvallis and gets a 3-point win over Oregon State. They move up. Clemson holds steady after their overtime win on the road at Wake Forest. Again,
explain that to me.
What, that they held steady? Wake Forest was ranked. I was completely wrong, though. I had it backwards. I thought Clemson's defense was going to be the difference in that, and their offense showed up. So I have to give credit. I've not given Clemson's offense credit very much at all over the last 2 years, but they showed up. Now, I did hear that Clemson had some DBs out, and that did not help when you're facing, an offense like Wake Forest. So, but yeah, I think they just voters just knew that, one, Wake Forest was going to score some points against a inexperienced defensive backfield, and 2, Clemson found a way to win on the road against a ranked opponent.
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
I mean, not everybody's, this sets up North Carolina State Clemson. First top 10 matchup since 1967.
First top 10 matchup for those two?
For North Carolina State.
Oh,
against anybody.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
How about that?
How about that?
Oregon, 6.5-point favorites. What was I thinking? And then I think the biggest upset of the weekend was Texas A&M.
Bigger than Texas Tech?
I think so. I mean, we really thought that Arkansas was the other team in the West.
We did.
And after what we saw A&M do against both, Miami, and then
yeah.
I mean, and then App State, then Miami at home, and then you get a big win over. Now, granted, the field goal attempt had to hit the top of the upright for you to get the win, but you still get the win.
Yeah,
it is what it is. I think that was huge. That was a huge upset for the SEC, as you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Florida State jumps into the poll. Well, I'm sorry, they were in the poll last week at 23. They hold steady. So does Pitt at 24. Pitt, who had an onside kick by their third string walk-on kicker late in that game. So that was interesting. And then Kansas State pops in at 25.
I was watching that game or trying to watch that game and kept dozing off because Saturday was long, but you just felt like Oklahoma was going to figure something out, and they just never did.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, okay, Oklahoma's they're gonna put the pedal down here in a minute, and it's gonna be all right. But Kansas at 26, not in the top 25. Now, Peter Fornelli tweeted Ole Miss's resume compared to Kansas's resume. And one of them is ranked 14th in the country, and the other one is unranked.
Now, Ole Miss has beaten who?
Ole Miss has beaten Troy, Central Arkansas. They won this past weekend against Tulsa. And I'm trying to get their schedule up, but it's pretty slow. And someone else, I'm not sure who the other team is, but it's not like it's not anybody of any real consequence. Yeah, I
and Kansas has?
Well, they went on the road and beat West Virginia.
Oh, Ole Miss beat Georgia Tech.
Okay, there you go. Again, no consequence. They went on the road and beat Houston, a team that was ranked in the top 25 preseason. They beat
that is a bigger win than any win Ole Miss has.
That's what I said. So
yeah,
you kind of go, hey, it's but it is what it is. That's the AP poll, and that's why we react to it the way we do. It's why I hate AP preseason polls because of that reason right there. I mean, AP preseason polls they're a guess.
Okay, so let's see. Kansas has beat Tennessee Tech, West Virginia in Morgantown.
That's right.
Houston in Houston, and Duke. Okay.
I mean, I think they ought to be ranked. I'm not saying that Ole Miss shouldn't be ranked. I'm not saying, but I think Kansas should be in the top 25 somewhere.
Well, and it shouldn't be because of the Duke win.
Well, no.
They probably should have already been ranked.
They should have been there last week. No, and someone said, well, that's just not a fair. That's not a fair assessment because Ole Miss just beat the teams that are in front of them, and that's what Ole Miss is supposed to do. They were there, and let's talk about Baylor. Let's talk about Texas A&M. Let's talk about. I mean, they beat Arkansas, but
that's the thing. It shouldn't be a Kansas versus anybody. It should just be Kansas on their own merit with the schedule that they've played to this point.
Yeah,
probably is one of the top 25 teams.
So, anyway, we need to take a break. We've been on this for about 25 minutes now, but college football is. I mean, it's the biggest. It's the most important thing that happens on Reaction Monday. I'm not gonna lie. It's because there's more of it to react to than there is anything else. Let's be honest. I mean, we got the Titans and we've got the Braves and we've got some high school football coming up, but college football just gives us 37 storylines to break down in 10
every
minutes.
Week. Yeah.
Every week. So we will continue on Reaction Monday with a little Braves talk here in just a few moments. So y'all stick around. It is Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be right back after these short messages.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor-trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor-trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bart Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor-trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000. The high school football season is here, and nobody handles Friday nights better than Main Street Media. Here's Zach Womble with details.
That's the name of the game here at Main Street Media and Main Street Preps. Is, we've been doing this for a long time now, and I think you hit on it. We've got an army of reporters across all of Middle Tennessee. I think there's about 130 schools in the Middle Tennessee area, and we try to cover all of them. We cover about 11, 12 counties at this point. And those Friday night shows, it's we're gonna show that off. We're gonna showcase the talent that we have on the field with reporters across several mid-state games on the weekly basis. So whether you're in Williamson County, whether you're in Giles County or Murray County or Montgomery or Robertson or anywhere in between, we're gonna have you covered from 6 to 11.
Friday Night Live is presented by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, where fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Hey, welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, time for a little Braves chatter, daily Braves segment. And we're getting close to the end of the year, the final series, the final battle coming up this weekend against the Mets. But you got to get there first, and you start in Washington, and that trip today began with a trip to the White House, where the Braves earned a new nickname from President Joe Biden, the Upset Kings of October. Is that what it was?
I did not see that. I've not seen that, but
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. The Upset Kings of October is what Joe Biden dubbed the 2021 Braves.
That's probably pretty accurate.
You'll take that, right?
Yeah, I mean, as you look back over what they did to get there, that's reasonable, I think. So, yeah.
The Braves players who were not on last year's team, who were at the White House, were seated in the audience alongside some others. And I thought that was pretty cool that they let those guys in. And they also brought along with them, Luke Jackson was there. Adam Duvall was in at the White House today. So, yeah, they brought back as many players as they could get to enjoy that. So,
yeah, too bad.
Cool.
Too bad Jorge Soler couldn't be there, since he
right
kind of punctuated that thing. But yeah, that's got to be a nice experience for those guys, and maybe they can do it again.
Man,
we're getting greedy now. But
yeah, well, I'll take it. I mean, we're going to be greedy. Sorry, it is what it is. But this is a series, Mo, that the Atlanta Braves have to be the Atlanta Braves, and you have to remember you're playing the Washington Nationals and treat them as such.
I think they've done a really good job of doing that over the course of the season, and I was a little surprised that they didn't win this series against Philadelphia, to be honest. But I'm
had
so
to win
glad,
2 to salvage the split.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I was not close to a TV on Friday night, because I probably would have broken one if I had been. So the timing worked out well on that. But yeah, to salvage the split, I think really has to have you feeling pretty good going into this 3-game series at Washington. And again, given the way they have played against the Nationals all year, I feel pretty good about them handling their business up there and then getting back home and getting ready for this cut to the chase, as Bally Sports is referring to the end of the season.
I actually like that. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like to give them a lot of props, but that one was pretty good. Atlanta, this is the other game day that the Mets do not play. This is a chance for the Braves to pick up that half game, and I think it's huge. I think this game today is as big as any other one the Braves will play against anybody but New York.
Yeah, because if they pick this one up, then it's a 1 game
but
deficit.
If you lose, it's 2.
Yeah. So it's a 1 game deficit, and each of them will have 8 games remaining. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. So,
and
3 of those are against each other.
And the Mets have the Marlins this week. So and that is in New York. So,
well, it's a good thing. Well, I guess the Marlins play indoors sometimes. So, but this Hurricane Ian thing is threatening to kind of wreak some havoc with some schedules here this week. So,
yes, it is. And so a little help from the A's. Got to get that 1 game from the A's over the weekend. If you could get a game from the Marlins, that would be fun.
Is Alcantara pitching?
Got him on Saturday, remember?
That's right.
So he won't be back until, well, I guess he could pitch on Thursday. That would, well, nope, they don't play. The Mets don't play on the.
Is it just a 2-game series with the Marlins?
Yeah. Because the Marlins do not play them on Thursday. Let's see here. That's Luzardo and Tawan Walker on Wednesday. Tomorrow, the Mets get Pablo Lopez against Carrasco. And then I guess the Braves and Mets are both off on Thursday.
Sounds like.
So that is what it appears. Yep. 2-game set, both teams off on Thursday, come into the weekend series Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it'll be Bassett versus Fried, DeGrom versus Wright, and I assume Carrasco versus, I'm guessing here, Charlie Morton.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go.
You know, I texted you and before, as I looked at the box score yesterday and said, who's going to come out in the 11th to pitch in the bottom half to win this thing? And I did not expect to see a second inning.
I just don't know why you didn't go Iglesias for the 9th. Well, I do know why.
Instead of the 8th? Well, you do know why. Yeah.
Yeah, I do know why. Yeah, I do know why. It's frustrating that you didn't go Iglesias for the 8th. For the 9th.
But even if you had
for a second inning, it just struck me, and I tweeted something about it. So you've burned your 2 biggest closer options, basically Iglesias and Jansen, and the game is still tied. So now what? Well, now what was Jackson Stevens,
who went out and pitched 2 innings of 0 earned run baseball?
Well, yeah.
No earned runs.
No earned runs.
So thank you, Jackson Stevens. We appreciate it. I guess Minter and Matzik were both unavailable. I assume
Minter threw, didn't he?
No, it was Dylan Lee.
Okay.
So it was Lee, Iglesias, Jansen, and then Stevens.
Yeah.
I thought both of them being available, you'd see them at some point, but did not, and that's okay. It's worked out, so we go with it, Mo.
There we go. And so now, it should be all hands on deck tonight, certainly. Ideally, we wouldn't need a closer or a setup guy in this one. Let's just score a bunch of runs early.
Yeah, getting some guys some work where they don't have to stress would be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Elder, who's going for his third straight, and I don't know if the last start was a quality start technically, but he's been really darn good. Poor guy's 1-3 on the year, but he's got a 3.38 ERA.
Well, he did not get the decision in his last outing, I don't believe.
Right. But he's been really good. I mean, Braves
he's pitched well enough for them to win. He's kept them in position to win.
In his last 3 games, the Braves have won 3-1, won 2-1, and then lost 3-2. And none of those were, I mean, the loss certainly was not on him. Now, August 6th, he pitched against the Mets and gave up 3 earned runs, and and that was his first start since the Texas series. But yeah, he's been as good as anybody late this year, and I feel like he's going to give you another solid outing tonight.
I'm looking for a lineup, and apparently there's not one out here yet. So.
I don't see a lineup yet, which is a little unusual at this point.
Yeah, I mean, because that's a 6:05 start Central.
It is a 6:05 start Central, but no lineup available. Washington has theirs available. I guess they are still stuck in traffic.
Having a tough time getting from the White House to Nationals Park. Yeah, that's it.
To the ballpark. So anyway, 6:05 start again. Bryce Elder, Corey Abbott goes for the Nationals. 4.85 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. He has struck out 32 in 39 innings. He has walked 18 and given up 9 home runs. Speaking of, for the first time since 1886, Mo, the Braves have a pair of 200 strikeout pitchers, one of which struck out 200 last year, suffered a broken leg, and came back the next year and struck out 200 again.
Yeah, I mean, say what you will about Charlie Morton, and we have, but I mean, 200 strikeouts is a pretty significant milestone in the Major League Baseball world at this point, and the fact that he reached it in back-to-back years with a broken leg in between, like you said, is pretty impressive. So kudos to Ground Chuck.
Yep. All right. There you have it. No lineup tonight, so we just go now to this day in Braves history.
September 26, 1964, Milwaukee utilized 8 pitchers to tie a National League record and 25 players to tie another league record in a 6-4 win over host Philadelphia. The two teams combined to set a major league mark using 43 players in the 9-inning contest. Rico Cardi's bases loaded triple in the 9th was the decisive blow for the visitors, with Joe Torre going 3 for 4 and Felipe Alou and Hank Aaron each adding a pair of hits. Warren Spahn worked a scoreless 9th to get the save. There you have it.
There you have it. All right, we'll be right back after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in to Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Mo, it's time to talk about the Tennessee Titans, as you were on hand for heck of a ball game. Titans go wire to wire, never trailing in the game, but it never really felt like they were necessarily in hand.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good way to describe it. 24-22 was the final. They were up 24-10 at the half, so you can kind of do the math there. But no, the Raiders never really let them get comfortable. Kicked a couple of field goals there in the third quarter, I think, to narrow that down to an 8-point game, and had themselves in position to force overtime after scoring inside the final 30 seconds or so, and were unable to make that 2-point conversion. Just kind of a gut check, I think, for the Titans. This is the type game that they win in that situation, though, over the wide spectrum of Mike Vrabel's coaching career here in Nashville. They have somehow found a way to regroup in tough times, like 0-2 and missing your veteran left tackle who you've lost for the season, and the other issues that you've got going on. It's almost like the uglier things get for this team under Vrabel, the more resilient they prove to be. And that's a culture thing, man. I mean, credit to him. We've kind of banged on John Robinson for suddenly some of the misses that we've seen in some of these drafts of late, but they've been getting guys in there that apparently have something to them beyond their physical abilities, because they're able to just, it sounds cliche-ish, but it just feels like they're able to dig deep and get it done when things seem stacked against them the most.
I think you're right. I mean, and I think that's the attitude that Mike Vrabel brings to this club. I mean, the fact is they never feel like they're out of it. Even, I mean, yeah, obviously the Bills game, but I mean, this team really doesn't. They could have quit on the season, and they didn't. They came back to work, knew that the offensive line was going to be patchworked, knew that the secondary was going to be patchworked, and right now.
And coming off a short week, I mean, again,
yeah,
that Buffalo debacle was on a Monday night.
So short weeks are where Mike Vrabel tends to
make his bones.
So, Zach Cunningham went out with an injury. Any update there? Did you get anything?
I've not heard anything on that. That's a good question. Let's see
because that could be huge.
Yeah, it could be, because I'm not sure you want to, with all due respect to Dylan Cole, who tipped that 2-point pass, I don't think you want to have to go with him. So I'm not seeing anything.
Now, last thing I see is a questionable to return.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing I see. Hopefully we'll get something on Zach here soon. Obviously hasn't been a great start to the season for the former Vanderbilt star and former Pinson Valley standout.
There's always an Alabama connection, huh?
Well, I covered him there, so I have to go back there. That was fun. He was fun to watch in high school for sure.
Oh God, I bet.
So yeah, it's when you look at this injury report for the Titans, it looks like every year. And now Zach Cunningham potentially on it. Patchwork defensive backfield, patchwork offensive line. What does this team have to do? Because it looks like this weekend could be a massive, massive game by the end of the year.
Well, sure. I think the one good thing that you saw yesterday was even as that offensive line was patchwork together, they only gave up 1 sack. And that might be as much because of the way Ryan Tannehill was getting the ball out as anything else. But they only gave up 1 sack. They ran the ball fairly well. Henry had some room. And when he has room to run and he's able to exhibit that burst that some people wondered if he still had, ask the Raiders if he's got it. Because I think he showed it a little bit yesterday. And so I think they just have to keep playing the way they did yesterday. And, maybe what they did yesterday was as much a function of who they were doing it against. Again, the Raiders are winless and the only winless team left in the NFL at this point. But still, Vrabel will tell you it's tough to win in the NFL regardless of who it is. And so I think they're going to take that one and go. But I think what you saw yesterday is kind of the recipe to success for the Titans at this point.
Cunningham questionable. It looks like Adeni is out, Bud Dupree is out as of today. Kyle Phillips is out as of today. It just, again, it looks like the world is caving in on the Titans, and it just seems like that's when they play their best football.
Mm-hmm. And I'm having a tough time coming up with the Raidens. For all of the offensive line issues, Raidens didn't play yesterday.
And that's scary.
It's
a guy it's a guy that you really felt like needed to be a part of this team and is not and will not be.
So not unless clearly he needs to get better, apparently, because he didn't play when they were down at least 1 tackle. So they felt like Dennis Daly was the direction to go in rather than him. So, and a rookie on the right side.
Obviously, Matt Ryan is a guy that this Titans defense is going to have to be mindful of, especially when you have the defensive backfield issues that the Titans currently have is with injuries and linebackers and all that goes into that. But he's also a guy that can't move.
Well, and beyond that, I don't know. I don't see a Devontae Adams on the Colts roster.
No, they're terrible. Their leading receiver is Marcus Pittman Jr.
So,
Michael Pittman, sorry. Not Marcus.
I think Matt Ryan is comparable to Derek Carr, and I think the Colts receiving core is
much worse
compared to the Raiders. So I'm not giving what they did, and I don't know what Adams' numbers were yesterday, but whatever they were good enough for the Titans to win. I think they held him in check fairly well. So now Mac Hollins almost killed him, but
well, Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell, Kiki Kuti, who has been a problem since when he was in Texas, in Houston, Ashton Doolin, that's their receiving core. I don't even know who three of those guys are.
I will kind of apply this to the group en masse. Who?
Yeah, I don't know who three of those guys are. So Michael Pittman and Kuti, and I wouldn't know who Kuti is if he hadn't played in the AFC South.
Well, and I wouldn't know who Kuti was if I didn't recognize the name from his college days. So there's nobody there that really scares you, not like a Devontae Adams again. So, and suddenly Thank you, Andrew Luck, for retiring. The Titans seem to somewhat have Indianapolis's number right now.
That they do. Looking forward to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I need to know where we stand in the division. And of course, it looks like Jacksonville is going to be the test, not Indianapolis. If the Titans don't win the division, I hope Jacksonville does. After all they had to go through, everything that they put themselves through, those players deserve a little bit of mercy and grace.
Jacksonville is the Andy Dufresne of the NFL.
Yes, 100%.
They are the stars of Shawshank. If the NFL is Shawshank, then Jacksonville is Andy Dufresne. Yep.
Let's get to some high school stuff real quick before we get out of here.
All right.
Biggest thing you saw this weekend, obviously Columbia Central took down Mount Pleasant, but it was a pretty good ball game. In the fourth quarter, it was tied.
It was tied 20-20 at the start of the fourth quarter, and then Caden McCoy decided, okay, time to get this over with, and goes 59 yards for one that was kind of the backbreaker, and then scored another one from 3 yards out. But I think Mount Pleasant really acquitted themselves well, for a 2A team playing against a 5A team. And unfortunately, they lost Southeast Missouri State commitment DeMarcus Brown the week before to a season-ending knee injury. I think if they had him, might have made a little bit of a difference, because Columbia Central was able to do some things in the defensive secondary to take Darian Meza away. Of course, they couldn't take him away in the kick game where he nearly broke one. But they were able to slow them down offensively in the passing game in particular, and I think that was kind of the difference.
Who is kind of stepping into that role for Mount Pleasant? Is it Cooper? Is he playing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. It's going to be Cooper. It will be Cooper, and I think, and I think you're going to this ball game Friday night. It'll be interesting to see what Richland's defensive approach is against Mount Pleasant in terms of trying to slow down both Cooper and Meza in the passing game, and account for Nick Brown, who has become Mount Pleasant's leading rusher.
There you go. Other games that I thought were, how about Ravenwood taking care of business against Hendersonville, Smyrna with a defensive effort like
15-5 against Riverdale, and all of a sudden,
I heard.
Yeah, all of a sudden Riverdale's in a little bit of trouble because they lost to Rockvale the week before, and
they're fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah,
a lot of folks had them fighting for a playoff host.
Yeah. So, you've got, I think Riverdale plays Siegel on Thursday and Oakland plays Blackman on Friday. And clearly that Oakland Blackman game at this time is kind of for that region championship, I guess. But, fortunately for Riverdale, that Smyrna game was a non-region game, but still, having lost to Rockville the week before, they wanted to bounce back and get back on a winning track, and that didn't happen. And again, 15-5, that's pretty, that's an interesting score for sure. Wish I could have seen that one. I'll tell you, Chris, one that jumped out at me was Cane Ridge 31, CPA 28.
We knew it was going to be a good ball game. I mean, we talked about it. We talked about how that was one of the two games that we were most interested in, that alongside NBA Brentwood Academy. You said it. You said that the Cane Ridge, that we had seen Cane Ridge's kicking game be a factor.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold,
it was a factor.
Ridge's kicking game was the factor. So that extra field goal is what gave the Ravens the win there against a really good CPA team. Cane Ridge is going to make some noise.
Yeah. And I think they lost in the opening round of the playoffs last year, and Eddie Woods has really got those guys playing at a high level right now, and
that region got swept.
Did they?
Yeah.
That's right. Well,
I don't think they're going to get swept this year.
I don't think so either. Yeah. So should be fun to watch.
It will be. And then I guess, great job NBA, Brentwood Academy. Just more and more you watch this NBA team, you think they could be the best team in the state. And I'm not barring no one, NBA is pretty close. They're at least top 5 in the state.
Regardless of classification. I mean, and we've said it since that 23-20 win over McCallie, and I think that was in Chattanooga, but they have they've come back and backed that up. What was that? A 2-touchdown win over Brentwood?
Yep.
At Brentwood
Academy.
That they don't lose many like that on their home field.
No, they do not. No, they do not. And so it's going to be a big week for high school football this week. We get back into most games are region games. This past week, you didn't have quite as many, had a few, but not all of them.
Sure.
Most everybody will be playing back in region play this week. So obviously it gets huge. Region 5 2A likely, I'm not going to say will get decided, but the winner on Friday will have a heck of a leg up.
No doubt. No doubt.
Region 5 2A.
Now, both these teams still have to play Forest, but Forest
Correct.
has already lost at least one. And this, hesitate to say this, but this may not be the Forest team that folks in this area have gotten used to seeing. So
that's what it appears to be. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this week across the state. It's going to be across the mid-state specifically. We didn't talk about this on Thursday. We mentioned it. Knoxville West knocking off Alcoa, and Brian Hamilton from Smoky Mountain Sports was there covering it, and he said you should see this place. It looks like they are losing the state championship right now. He said they act like this is their season. They already know they're state champs. He said this was it. They wanted to go undefeated against Maryville, Knoxville West, and Knoxville West knocks off Alcoa.
Well, they're just they're not used to losing games
at all. No, I know.
To anybody.
It's crazy. So Knoxville West in 5A, watch out.
Yep.
That's all I can tell you.
Yep.
Well, we're going to get out of here. I miss that. I promise you're not going to want to miss Chip Walters on this show. This is going to be the Chip Walters show next week. I promise you're going to want to be here. It'll be Top 5 Tuesday as well, and we will get to all of the things we didn't get to today, which there's quite a bit. So
quite a bit, yeah.
More tomorrow on Main Street Sports, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. See you then.